The cargo ship Meridian's Hope moved through the darkness of space like a whale swimming through an endless ocean. Its hull was scarred and patched in places, showing years of honest work carrying goods between distant worlds. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair, watching the stars streak past on the main screen. Her coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but she didn't mind. She had been doing this job for 15 years, and cold coffee was part of the routine. "Captain, we're approaching the Threshold Nebula system," said Marcus Webb, her first officer. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. "Should be a quiet run-through. Nothing ever happens here." Sarah nodded but didn't relax. In her experience, the moment someone said nothing ever happens was exactly when something happened. She had learned that lesson the hard way during her years in Earth's Navy, before she took this merchant job. "Keep the sensors active," she said, "and Marcus, make sure everyone is at their stations." Marcus gave her a curious look. They were just passing through empty space. There was no reason for the crew to be at full stations. But he had served with Sarah for 5 years. When she had a feeling about something, she was usually right. "Yes, Captain," he said, and sent the message to all crew members. The Meridian's Hope carried 47 people. Most of them were loading specialists, engineers, and navigation crew. At least that's what their official papers said. The truth was a bit more complicated, but Sarah wasn't thinking about that right now. She was watching her sensors, and she didn't like what she was seeing. Multiple contacts dropping out of FTL. Called out Chen Park, the young woman at the sensor station. 12 ships, Captain. They're big ones." Sarah felt her heartbeat quicken, but her face remained calm. "Show me." The main screen changed. 12 warships appeared around the Meridian's Hope, forming a perfect circle. They were Krellian vessels painted in dark purple and black. Each one was twice the size of Sarah's ship, bristling with weapons. Sarah recognized the design. These were the ships that had been causing trouble for human traders for the past 6 months. "They're hailing us, Captain," said Marcus. "Put them on screen." A face appeared on the display. The Krellian commander had 4 eyes, arranged in a square pattern on his flat face. His skin was the color of old bruises, and his mouth was full of sharp teeth. When he smiled, it looked like a threat. "Human vessel," the Krellian said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "I am Commander Vector of the Krellian Dominion. You are in violation of our territorial space. You must pay a transit tax." Sarah kept her face neutral. "Commander, this is a free trade corridor. The Galactic Council designated it as open space." Vector's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, which Sarah knew was the Krellian equivalent of laughing. "The Council is very far away, human. We are very close. You have 10 minutes to transfer half your cargo to my ships and pay 50,000 credits. If you refuse, we will take everything and sell your ship for scrap." Around the bridge, Sarah heard her crew shifting nervously. This was the moment many merchant ships gave in. It was easier to pay than to fight. After all, what could one cargo ship do against 12 warships? "Commander, can you give me a few minutes to discuss this with my crew?" Sarah asked. Her voice was polite, almost meek. Vector's teeth showed again. "Of course, human. I am not unreasonable. You have 10 minutes. But know this. Every other species has been wise enough to pay. The Asari traders paid. The Tulgrim freighters paid. Even the proud Zenith merchants paid. You humans are soft creatures. You value peace and trade. You are not warriors. So be smart. Pay the tax." The screen went dark. Sarah sat very still for a moment. Then she pressed a button on her chair that opened a secure channel to all crew stations. "Everyone, this is the captain," she said quietly. "Execute Protocol Phantom. I repeat, Protocol Phantom. You all know what to do. Move quickly and stay quiet." Marcus stared at her. "Sarah, are you sure?" If we do this, we send a message," Sarah said. "I'm tired of these Krellian pirates thinking we're easy prey. I'm tired of them calling us soft. And I'm really tired of them comparing us to other species who rolled over for them." "The Council will have questions," Marcus said. "Let them ask. We've been documenting every attack, every theft, every murdered crew for 6 months. Earth Command gave us clear orders. If the Krellians push us again, we push back." Sarah's voice was hard now, like iron. "Besides, Marcus, you know what this ship really is. What we all really are." Marcus slowly smiled. "That I do, Captain." Throughout the ship, crew members moved to new positions. They weren't going to the cargo holds like the Krellians probably expected. They were going to other places, hidden places. The Meridian's Hope had been built in the Armstrong shipyards above Earth's moon. On paper, it was a civilian cargo vessel. The truth was very different. Sarah pulled up a screen that showed her the status of all the ship's systems. To anyone scanning them, the Meridian's Hope looked like it was powering down weapons, preparing to be boarded. The reactor signature was stable, showing exactly what a cargo ship's reactor should show. Everything looked normal, but inside the cargo holds, panels were sliding open. Hidden weapon batteries were coming online. The civilian crew members were strapping into gunnery stations. The ship's real reactor, the military-grade fusion core hidden beneath false plating, was warming up. 8 minutes, Marcus said, watching his timer. Sarah opened a secure channel. It was a direct link to Earth, sent through quantum communication that couldn't be intercepted.
This is Meridian's Hope, Registry Echo 7. We have 12 Krellian warships demanding payment.
Requesting confirmation on rules of engagement. The response came back in 3 seconds. Rules of engagement confirmed. Weapons free. Backup is already in position. Good hunting, Captain Chen. Sarah felt a cold smile form on her lips. The Krellians thought they were ambushing a helpless cargo ship. They had no idea what was really about to happen. All stations report ready, Captain, Marcus said. Good, tell them to wait for my order. Sarah looked at the timer. 5 more minutes. Let the Krellians think they've won. Let them get comfortable. Out in the darkness, the 12 Krellian warships floated in their perfect circle. Inside those ships, crews were relaxed. Some were already talking about how they would split the cargo. This would be easy, just like all the others. Commander Vector watched the human ship on his screen. It looked so small, so helpless. These humans were all the same. They talked about peace and friendship. But when real power showed up, they folded immediately. He had no idea that the next 10 minutes would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. The trap was set. But the Krellians had walked into the wrong trap. Commander Vector leaned back in his command throne, all 4 eyes watching the human ship with amusement. This would be his 37th successful raid in the Threshold sector. 37 ships, 37 surrenders, and not a single shot fired. The Krellian way was superior, he thought. Why fight when fear works so well? Commander, the human ship has powered down their weapons, reported his tactical officer. Of course they have, Vector said. They always do. He remembered his first raid 5 months ago. An Asari trading vessel had crossed into what the Krellians now called their territory. The Asari captain had been a female with blue skin and proud eyes. She had argued for 30 minutes about Galactic Council law and free trade agreements. Then Vector had destroyed her escort ship with 1 missile. The Asari had transferred her cargo in under 10 minutes, tears running down her blue face. The second raid had been against a Tulgrim freighter. The Tulgrim were large, strong aliens covered in thick fur. They looked dangerous. But when Vector surrounded them with his battle group, they had paid without even arguing. The Tulgrim captain had simply asked if Vector would accept credits instead of cargo. Vector had accepted both. Every species was the same. They talked about principles and laws, but when 12 warships surrounded them, principles became very flexible. The humans would be no different. 5 minutes remaining, his tactical officer said. Vector pulled up the intelligence file on humans. It wasn't very thick. Humans were new to the galactic community, only 50 years since first contact. The file said they came from a planet called Earth, a small world with too much water. They had fought some wars on their home planet, but that was ancient history. The current assessment was clear. Humans were emotionally unstable, prone to crying and forming attachments to small animals. They were physically weak with fragile bones and soft skin. Their ships were slow and their weapons were outdated. Most importantly, humans valued peace above all else. They had signed every peace treaty, joined every diplomatic council, and had never once shown aggression to another species. Perfect prey, in other words. Vector closed the file. Intelligence was rarely wrong. In all his raids, the files had been accurate. The Asari were proud but practical. The Tulgrim were strong but passive. The Zenith were clever but cowardly. Every species had a breaking point, and 12 warships were usually well past that point. On the bridge of the Meridian's Hope, Sarah Chen was reading a very different file. This one was her own service record, marked with the highest security clearance. Anyone scanning it would see a simple merchant captain with 15 years of boring cargo runs. The truth was buried in encrypted layers that only Earth military intelligence could access. Sarah had graduated from Earth Naval Academy 20 years ago. She had served on the destroyer Yamato during the Mars Rebellion. She had commanded a frigate squadron during the Europa Ice Wars. She had killed more people than most soldiers ever met. And 5 years ago, when Earth Command decided they needed eyes and ears in the merchant fleet, she had volunteered to retire and take a cargo ship. Every member of her crew had a similar story. Marcus Webb had been a Special Forces operator. Chen Park, who looked like a 20-year-old sensor officer, was actually 35 and had designed targeting systems for Earth's newest battleships. The loading specialists in the cargo holds were actually Marines who could field strip a railgun in 30 seconds, and the Meridian's Hope itself was a lie. It had been launched as the destroyer Relentless, one of Earth's most advanced warships. Then engineers had added false hull plating to make it look bigger and slower. They had hidden the military reactor behind a fake civilian one. They had disguised weapon batteries as cargo containers. On paper and on sensors, it was exactly what it appeared to be: a boring cargo ship. The Galactic Registry Office had approved all the paperwork without question. After all, humans were peaceful. Why would they lie about their ships? 3 minutes, Captain, Marcus said. Sarah pulled up a tactical display that the Krellians couldn't see. It showed the true capabilities of her ship: railguns with magnetic acceleration that could punch through any shield in the galaxy, kinetic missiles that moved at 40% of light speed, point defense systems that could track 1,000 targets simultaneously, and the reactor that could power all of it without breaking a sweat. Earth had made a decision after first contact with the galactic community. They could reveal their true military power, which would make other species fear them, or they could hide it, smile, trade peacefully, and wait. If peace lasted forever, wonderful. But if someone pushed them, if someone mistook kindness for weakness, then Earth would show the galaxy what humanity really was. The Krellians had just volunteered to learn that lesson. Incoming transmission from Earth Command, Chen Park said. Sarah opened it on her private screen. It was from Admiral Zhao, commander of the Third Fleet. The message was short. Captain Chen, 6 warships are in position, 2 million kilometers from your location. They have been watching and recording everything. When you engage, we will join you. Show these pirates what happens when they threaten humans. Make it memorable. Zhao out. Sarah felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. This wasn't just about one cargo ship anymore. This was about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. Humans were done being nice. 1 minute, Marcus said. Throughout the ship, 46 crew members waited at their stations. Some were excited. Some were nervous. All of them were ready. They had trained for this moment for months, running drills in empty space where no one could see. They knew exactly what would happen in the next few minutes. On the Krellian ships, crews were relaxed. Some were eating meals. Others were placing bets on how much cargo the human ship carried. A few were already calculating their share of the profits. Not one of them was at battle stations. Why would they be? The humans had powered down their weapons. The humans would surrender, just like everyone else. Commander Vector watched his timer count down. 10 seconds, 9, 8. He thought about how he would phrase his report to the Krellian High Command. Another successful raid. The humans were cooperative. No resistance encountered. It would look good on his record. Perhaps he would be promoted soon. 5 seconds. 4, 3. The timer reached 0. Vector opened the channel to the human ship. Time is up, human. What is your answer? Sarah Chen looked directly into the camera. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. When she spoke, her voice was quiet and clear. No. Vector blinked all 4 eyes. What did you say? I said no, Commander. We will not pay your tax. We will not transfer our cargo. We will not surrender. Sarah paused. But I will make you an offer. Leave now. Turn your ships around and leave this sector. If you do that, we will forget this happened. For a moment, Vector couldn't speak. Then he started laughing, a sound like stones in a grinder. On his bridge, his crew joined in. A human was threatening them. A soft, weak, emotional human in a cargo ship was threatening 12 Krellian warships. It was the funniest thing Vector had heard in months. You are either very brave or very stupid, human, Vector said when he stopped laughing. I will enjoy teaching you the price of defiance. Then let me teach you something, Commander, Sarah said. Her voice was still quiet, but now there was something else in it. Something cold. You've been robbing merchant ships for months. You think you know humans. You think we're weak. You think we're soft. You're about to learn how wrong you are." She closed the channel. Vector stared at the blank screen for a moment. Then he shook his head. "Arm all weapons. Target their engines first. I want them alive to regret their choice." "Weapons armed, Commander," his tactical officer said. Vector smiled, showing all his teeth. "Fire!" But the Meridian's Hope fired first. The Meridian's Hope didn't wait. The moment Commander Vector gave the order to fire, Sarah gave her own order with one word: execute. The cargo bay doors exploded outward, not the normal way cargo doors opened, sliding aside gently. These doors had explosive bolts that blasted them off the hull in fragments. Behind them, where Vector expected to see containers of trade goods, were 6 massive railgun batteries. The railguns fired simultaneously. There was no sound in space, but if there had been, it would have been like the crack of thunder. Magnetic coils accelerated tungsten rods to impossible speeds. The projectiles crossed the distance to the nearest Krellian ships in less than a second. The Krellians had shields, of course. Energy shields designed to stop lasers and plasma weapons. They were good shields, the kind that had protected Krellian ships for 100 years. But they were designed for the weapons every other species used. Humans didn't use energy weapons on their railguns. They used metal. Simple, solid, fast-moving metal. The shields might as well have been made of paper. The first 3 Krellian ships exploded, not slowly, not with warning. One moment they were there, 1,200 tons of warship with crews of 50 aliens each. The next moment they were expanding clouds of debris and frozen atmosphere. The tungsten rods punched through their hulls, through their reactors, and out the other side. Internal explosions finished what the railguns started. Time from Sarah's order to 3 destroyed ships. 4.7 seconds. On Vector's bridge, alarms started screaming. His 4 eyes couldn't believe what they were seeing. 3 ships gone, just gone. The sensor officer was shouting something, but Vector couldn't understand the words. His mind couldn't process what had just happened. "Return fire," he finally screamed. "All ships return fire!" The remaining 9 Krellian warships came alive. Their weapons, which had been armed but not activated, began tracking the human ship. Energy beams lanced out, bright lines of destruction crossing the darkness. Plasma torpedoes followed, slower but more powerful. Enough firepower to vaporize a city was directed at the Meridian's Hope. The beams hit the human ship. Vector watched, expecting to see the cargo vessel break apart. Instead, the beams splashed against something invisible. The Meridian's Hope had shields. But these weren't the weak shields of a cargo ship. These were military-grade defensive barriers that could stop everything the Krellians were throwing at them. "Impossible," Vector whispered. "Cargo ships don't have shields like that." On the Meridian's Hope, Sarah was reading damage reports. Shields at 92%. "No hull damage. They're not even scratching us, Captain," Marcus said with a grim smile. "Good. Launch missiles, pattern Delta 4. Throughout the human ship, missile tubes that had been disguised as maintenance hatches opened up. 60 kinetic missiles erupted from the Meridian's Hope, accelerating hard. These weren't the standard missiles that every species used. Human engineers had asked a simple question. What if we made missiles move really, really fast? The answer was missiles that traveled at 0.4 light speed. At that velocity, they didn't need explosives. Kinetic energy did all the work. They were essentially bullets the size of a car, moving faster than most species' sensors could track. The Krellian point defense systems tried. They really did. Automated guns spun up, tracking the incoming missiles. Defense lasers fired, trying to destroy the missiles before they hit. The problem was that Krellian point defense was designed for missiles that moved at normal speeds. Ships had time to track them, calculate trajectories, and fire intercepting shots. Human missiles didn't give them time. 5 more Krellian ships died in the next 30 seconds. The missiles hit with the force of small nuclear weapons. Hulls crumpled like aluminum foil. Reactors went critical. One ship simply split in half, both pieces tumbling away into space. Vector's bridge was pure chaos now. Officers were screaming conflicting reports. The tactical officer was shouting about impossible velocities. The communications officer was trying to call for help. The shield officer was reporting that their defenses were useless against kinetic weapons. "We need to retreat," someone yelled. Vector's pride wouldn't allow it. He had never retreated. He had never lost. He was Commander Vector of the Krelian Dominion, victor of 36 raids. He would not run from a human cargo ship. All remaining ships focus fire on that vessel, he ordered. Concentrate everything on one point. Break their shields! 4 Krelian ships maneuvered into position. They synchronized their weapons, all firing at the same spot on the Meridian's Hope. For a moment it looked like it might work. The concentrated fire made the human shields glow, visible now as a sphere of energy around the ship. Then the Meridian's Hope rolled, presenting a different shield angle. The shields held, and while the Krelians were focused on that one ship, they forgot to watch their sensors. Commander, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. New contacts. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Vector spun to look at the display. His blood, which was green and thick, went cold. 6 more ships had arrived. These weren't pretending to be cargo vessels. These were warships, pure and simple. They were bigger than the Meridian's Hope, angular and deadly, with weapons visible all over their hulls. Their hulls were painted with the symbol of Earth, a blue and green planet on a black field. The human defense force had arrived. On the lead ship, the battleship Yamato, Admiral Zhao sat in his command chair. He had been watching the whole battle on long-range sensors. He had seen the Meridian's Hope reveal itself. He had seen the Krelians realize their mistake too late. And now it was time to finish this. Open a channel to all Krelian vessels, he ordered. His communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. Zhao looked into the camera. His face was hard, lined with age and experience. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion. He had survived the Europa Ice Wars. He had commanded fleets in battles that killed millions. And he was tired of species like the Krelians thinking humans were easy prey. Krelian vessels, this is Admiral Zhao of the Human Defense Force 3rd Fleet. You attacked one of our ships. You demanded payment. You threatened our people. He paused. You made a mistake. On Vector's bridge, everyone was silent. They stared at the human admiral on their screens. I am authorized to offer you one chance, Zhao continued. Power down your weapons. Surrender your ships. You will be treated as prisoners of war according to Galactic Convention. Your crews will not be harmed. This is your only chance. Vector felt rage building in his chest. The entire galaxy would hear about this. Commander Vector defeated by humans, surrendering to the weakest species in known space. His career would be over. His reputation would be destroyed. His family would be shamed for generations. Never, he said. You humans are cowards. You hide your strength like thieves in the dark. You have no honor. We will never surrender to creatures like you. Zhao's expression didn't change. Captain Chen, did you hear that? On the Meridian's Hope, Sarah activated her channel. I heard it, Admiral. Did you give them a chance to leave peacefully? I did, sir. They refused. Then the fault is theirs. Zhao looked back at the camera. Commander Vector, I gave you an out. Captain Chen gave you an out. You called us cowards for hiding our strength. Let me explain something. We hid our strength because we hoped we would never need to use it. We wanted peace. We wanted to trade and share knowledge and be part of the galactic community. Zhao's voice grew colder. But you mistook our kindness for weakness. You thought our smile meant we had no teeth. So now we're going to show you what humanity really is. We're going to show you why our species survived wars that would have destroyed yours. We're going to show you why Earth is still standing after thousands of years of humans fighting humans. He leaned forward. We're going to show you what happens when you make us stop being civilized. Zhao closed the channel. Then he gave an order that would echo through the galaxy for years to come. All ships, weapons free. Hellfire protocols authorized. Leave nothing but debris. The human fleet opened fire and space turned into hell. The 6 human warships didn't just shoot. They executed a combat pattern that had been practiced 1,000 times in simulations and training exercises. Each ship knew exactly where to be, exactly when to fire, and exactly what targets to eliminate. They moved like dancers, like predators, like something that had evolved specifically to destroy other ships. The Yamato led the formation. Admiral Zhao's flagship was a battleship designed for one purpose, to win fights. Its main gun, a rail cannon that ran the entire length of the ship, fired a projectile that weighed 2 tons. The round crossed the distance to the nearest Krelian ship in 0.3 seconds. The Krelian vessel, a cruiser that had been repositioning to fire at the Meridian's Hope, never saw it coming. The projectile hit amidships, punched through both sides of the hull, and kept going. The ship's structure failed catastrophically. It broke into 3 pieces, each one spinning away in a different direction. 1 ship down. 3 remaining. The destroyers flanking the Yamato opened up with their own weapons. These were smaller, faster ships designed for precision strikes. They used missiles, but not the kind the Krellians had ever seen before. Human engineers called them smart missiles because they could think. Each missile had its own tiny computer brain. They could dodge, they could choose targets, they could coordinate with each other. 20 missiles launched from 2 destroyers. They accelerated to 0.4 light speed, then did something that should have been impossible at that velocity. They turned. Physics said objects moving that fast couldn't change direction. Human engineers had found ways to bend those rules just enough. The missiles came at the Krellian ships from 6 different angles. Point defense systems tried to track them, but there were too many targets moving too fast in too many directions. Half the missiles got through. Each one hit with kinetic force that made nuclear weapons look gentle. 2 more Krellian ships disappeared in expanding clouds of metal and fire. Vector's ship was one of 2 remaining. The other was a destroyer that had tried to run the moment the human fleet arrived. It didn't make it far. The human frigate Relentless, the ship the Meridian's hope had once been before it was disguised, was faster. It caught up in 30 seconds and disabled the Krellian destroyer's engines with surgical precision. The Krellian ship drifted helplessly, its crew alive but unable to fight or flee. That left only Vector's command ship. On his bridge, the lights were flickering. Half the control stations were dark. Fires burned in 3 compartments. His crew was dead or dying, and Vector finally understood what had happened. The humans had set a trap. Not a simple ambush, a complex, planned operation. The Meridian's hope had been bait. Earth had been tracking the Krellian raids for months, documenting every theft, every threat, every murdered crew. They had been building a case for the Galactic Council and preparing for this moment. Vector had thought he was the hunter. He had been the prey all along. Incoming transmission, his communications officer said. The young Krellian's voice was shaking. Put it on screen, Vector said quietly. Captain Sarah Chen appeared. Behind her, Vector could see the bridge of what he had thought was a cargo ship, but now he saw it clearly. Combat stations, military displays, professional soldiers at every position. How had he missed it? Commander Vector, Sarah said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. It's over. Your fleet is destroyed. You have 1 ship left and it's heavily damaged. You have 30 seconds to surrender before Admiral Zhao orders your ship destroyed. Vector looked at her, this human woman who had fooled him completely. You lied, he said. Your ship, your crew, everything. You lied to the entire galaxy. No, Sarah said. We filled out our registry forms correctly. We just didn't explain everything. The Meridian's hope is a cargo ship. We do carry cargo. We do make trade runs. Everything we said was true. But the weapons, self-defense systems, perfectly legal under Galactic Convention, we're allowed to protect ourselves from pirates. Sarah paused. And you are pirates, Commander. You've been robbing ships for months. We have records of 36 raids. We have testimony from survivors. We have everything we need to prosecute you. Vector felt something breaking inside him. His pride, his certainty, his entire understanding of how the galaxy worked. We were told humans were weak, emotional, fragile. We were told you avoided conflict. We do avoid conflict, Sarah said. When we can. But we're not weak, Commander. We're not fragile. We're just very, very good at choosing when to show our strength. She leaned forward. Every species you robbed paid you because they were smart. They knew the cost of fighting wasn't worth it. But you made a mistake with us. You thought we were paying because we were weak. You thought we would always back down. You forgot that species don't survive to reach the stars by being helpless. Vector's tactical officer spoke up. Commander, we have another transmission. It's from the Krellian High Command. Put it on a separate channel, Vector ordered. A Krellian elder appeared, one of the Council of 7 that ruled their species. His face was ancient, covered in ceremonial scars. Commander Vector, we have been monitoring the situation. Surrender immediately. That is a direct order. But Elder, the humans have been broadcasting everything that happened here on open channels. The entire galaxy is watching. Every species sees 12 Krellian warships attacking 1 human cargo vessel. They see that vessel defending itself. They see us lose. The elder's voice was bitter. If you continue fighting, Earth will destroy your ship. Then they will have legal grounds to declare war on all Krellian space. Surrender now. Perhaps we can salvage something from this disaster. The channel closed. Vector sat in his command chair, feeling empty. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. Through his viewports, he could see the human warships, their weapons still trained on him. He thought about honor, about duty, about what it meant to be Krellian. Then he thought about his crew, the young officers who had followed him into this battle. Did they deserve to die because of his pride? Power down all weapons, he said quietly. Tell the humans we surrender. On the Yamato, Admiral Zhao received the surrender notification. He nodded once. Dispatch Marine boarding teams. I want every surviving Krellian taken into custody. Treat them according to protocol, no abuse, no mistreatment. They're prisoners of war now. Yes, sir, his operations officer said. Then more quietly. Sir, we're receiving transmission requests from over 100 sources. News services, government channels, even the Galactic Council. Let them wait, Zhao said. First we secure the prisoners. Then we deal with politics. He pulled up a display showing the battlefield. 12 Krellian ships had started this fight. 11 were destroyed or disabled. 1 had surrendered. On the human side, not a single ship had been destroyed. The Meridian's Hope had some shield damage that would take an hour to repair. The Yamato had some scratches on its hull. That was it. 0 human casualties. Complete tactical victory. Zhao opened a private channel to Sarah. Well done, Captain. Your performance was perfect. Sarah's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired. Thank you, Admiral. But I feel like we just changed something. The galaxy thought humans were peaceful traders. After today, what will they think? They'll think we're peaceful traders who can defend themselves, Zhao said. Which is exactly what we are. He paused. We didn't want this, Sarah. We hoped the Krellians would take your first warning and leave. We hoped this could be resolved without violence, but they didn't leave. No. They called us cowards. They said we had no honor because we hid our strength. Zhao's expression was hard. So now the galaxy knows. Humans hide our strength because we choose to, not because we have to. We smile and trade because we want peace, not because we fear war. And if someone pushes us far enough, we will push back with everything we have. Sarah nodded slowly. The Galactic Council is going to have questions. Let them ask. We have 6 months of evidence. We have recordings of every Krellian raid. We have testimony from survivors. We acted in legal self-defense. Zhao smiled slightly. Besides, every other species is going to be very, very careful about how they treat us now. He was right. Across the galaxy, in 1,000 different places, aliens were watching recordings of the battle. They were seeing human ships move with precision and purpose. They were seeing weapons that could destroy cruisers in seconds. They were seeing a species that had hidden its fangs while smiling and asking politely for trade agreements. Every government, every military, every intelligence service was asking the same question. What else are the humans hiding? And on Earth, in the headquarters of the Human Defense Force, the High Command was preparing their statement to the Galactic Council. The message was simple. Humanity wants peace. But humanity is not defenseless, and humanity will not be prey. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest enclosed space on Unity Station, a massive orbital platform that orbited a neutral star system. Representatives from 300 species gathered in the amphitheater-style room. Today, every seat was filled. Today, everyone wanted to hear what the humans had to say. Ambassador Kenji Tanaka stood at the central podium. He was a small man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been Earth's representative to the Council for 10 years. In all that time, he had been polite, agreeable, and diplomatic. He had signed peace treaties. He had mediated disputes. He had done everything the Council expected from a representative of a peaceful species. Today felt different. Honored representatives, Kenji began. I know you all have questions about recent events in the Threshold sector. I am here to answer them. The Krellian representative stood immediately. He was younger than the Council of 7 Elders, but his face was twisted with anger. Your military attacked and destroyed Krellian ships conducting lawful operations. This is an act of war. Kenji nodded calmly. Let me show you something. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed footage from the Meridian's Hope. Commander Vector demanding payment, threatening to destroy the human ship, surrounding them with 12 warships. This is what you call lawful operations? Kenji asked. Extortion. Threats of violence. Destruction of civilian vessels. That corridor is Krellian territory, the representative argued. No, it isn't. Kenji pressed a button. The display changed to show a Galactic Council map with the threshold sector clearly marked as open trade space. The Council designated this sector as Free Trade Zone 40 years ago. Krellian forces had no legal authority there. The Asari representative, an elegant woman with blue skin, stood next. Ambassador Tanaka, the Council understands self-defense. But your response was extreme. 11 ships destroyed, only one allowed to surrender. Was such force necessary? Kenji looked at her. Representative Tavara, may I ask how many Asari ships have been raided by the Krellians in the past 6 months? Tavara hesitated. 7. Did you report these raids to the Council? We handled them internally. We paid the demanded fees and continued our business. I understand, Kenji said. And the Tulgrim? The Zenith? The Corvin? How many ships from each species have been raided? Around the chamber, representatives shifted uncomfortably. No one answered. I'll tell you, Kenji said. In 6 months, the Krellians conducted 36 raids on different species. They stole cargo worth billions of credits. They killed 17 crew members who resisted, and no one reported it to the Council because it was easier to pay than to fight. He let that hang in the air for a moment. Humanity reported it. We documented every raid. We gathered evidence. We brought it to the Council 3 months ago. Do you remember what happened? The Council chair, a crystalline being called a shard, spoke up. Its voice was like wind chimes. The Council received your report. We opened an investigation, and, Kenji pressed, these things take time. We needed to hear from all parties involved. While you were hearing from all parties, more ships were raided. More crews were threatened. More cargo was stolen. Kenji's voice was still calm, but there was iron in it now. Humanity spent 3 months trying to resolve this peacefully. We tried the Council. We tried diplomacy. We tried everything we could think of. And while we tried, the Krellians got bolder. They thought we were weak. They thought our requests for peaceful resolution meant we were afraid to fight. He pressed another button. New footage appeared. All 36 raids shown simultaneously on different parts of the display. Ships surrounded. Captains begging for mercy. Cargo holds emptied by Krellian raiders. This is what happens when predators think there are no consequences, Kenji said. This is what happens when peaceful species are mistaken for helpless species. The Tulgrim representative, a massive being covered in brown fur, stood. You made your point, human. The Krellians were wrong, but you hid your military strength. You lied about your capabilities. How can any species trust you now? Kenji looked around the chamber, meeting eyes with representatives from dozens of worlds. We didn't lie. Every human ship is registered with accurate information. The Meridian's Hope is a cargo vessel. It does carry cargo. It makes regular trade runs. Everything on its registry is true. But the weapons are legal self-defense systems. The Galactic Convention allows all ships to defend themselves. We simply chose to defend ourselves effectively. Kenji paused. If you're asking why we didn't advertise our military capabilities, the answer is simple. We wanted to trade peacefully. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. We didn't want other species to fear us. But now they do, Tavara said quietly. Kenji nodded. Perhaps. But fear and respect are different things. We don't want species to fear us. We want them to respect us. To understand that humans value peace but we're not defenseless. That we smile because we choose to, not because we have to. The Krellian representative spoke again, his voice bitter. You speak of choice. You speak of self-defense. But you destroyed almost an entire fleet. You showed no mercy. We showed mercy, Kenji said sharply. Admiral Zhao gave Commander Vekthor a chance to surrender. Captain Chen gave him a chance to leave peacefully. Both chances were refused. At that point, Commander Vekthor was no longer a pirate conducting a raid. He was an enemy combatant engaged in an act of war against human citizens. Kenji pulled up the final piece of footage. Vekthor calling humans cowards, refusing to surrender, ordering his ships to attack. He made his choice. The consequences were his responsibility. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Finally, the council chair spoke. The council will review all evidence and make a ruling. But Ambassador Tanaka, speaking personally, I must say that humanity has given us much to think about. You are not what we expected. What did you expect? Kenji asked. A species that would integrate slowly, That would follow established patterns. That would be content to be junior members of the galactic community for decades while you learned and grew. The chair paused. Instead, you have shown that you are fully capable of standing on your own. Some would say that is threatening. And you, chair? What do you say? The crystalline being seemed to shine brighter for a moment. I say that the galaxy is more interesting with humans in it. And I say that species who prey on peaceful traders should think carefully before targeting human ships. The formal session ended an hour later. The council ruled that humanity had acted in legal self-defense. The Krellian Dominion was ordered to pay reparations to all species they had raided. Krellian ships were banned from the Threshold sector for 10 years. But the real changes happened after the session ended. In military command centers across 100 worlds, intelligence officers updated their files on humanity. The words technologically inferior and avoids conflict were deleted. New assessments were written. New protocols were created. And every spacefaring species sent quiet messages to their merchant fleets. Be very, very careful around human ships. Trade routes that had avoided Earth started including human ports. Species that had been condescending to human diplomats became much more polite. And pirates throughout the galaxy decided that there were easier targets than human cargo vessels. 6 months after the battle, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Meridian's Hope. The ship had been repaired and was back on its regular route. Today they were passing through the same threshold sector where everything had changed. Captain, incoming ship, Marcus said. It's a small trader, Corvin Registry. Sarah pulled up the scan. The Corvin vessel was old, probably carrying a family of traders trying to make a living. As she watched, the ship changed course slightly, giving the Meridian's Hope a wide berth. They're hailing us. Captain, Chen Park said. Put them on. A Corvin face appeared, reptilian with golden eyes. The trader looked nervous. Human vessel, this is the light of Corvin. We just wanted to say, thank you, for what you did. The Krellians raided us twice. After what happened to you, they haven't bothered us once. Sarah smiled. Just doing our job. Safe travels, light of Corvin. The Corvin ship continued on its way and Sarah settled back in her chair. Marcus brought her a cup of coffee. Hot this time. Strange, isn't it? Marcus said. We fight one battle and suddenly everyone treats us differently. Not so strange, Sarah said. They always treated us the way they thought we deserved. Now they know better. Some of the crew are worried, Marcus admitted. They think other species see us as violent now. As dangerous, Sarah considered that. Maybe some do. But that's better than being seen as weak. Being dangerous means we have a choice. We can choose peace. We can choose to help others. We can choose to be the species we want to be. She sipped her coffee. When everyone thought we were helpless, we didn't have those choices. People like Vector made choices for us. She looked out at the stars streaming past. Earth fought wars for thousands of years. We almost destroyed ourselves a dozen times. But we learned, we grew. We chose to be better. And when we met the galaxy, we wanted to bring that better version of ourselves. And now the galaxy knows that we're not better because we're weak. We're better because we chose to be, despite being strong. Sarah set down her coffee. That's the message we sent.